You may recall from 6 years ago that I posted a video about replacing console bulbs in my wonderful 2003 Honda Pilot. Well, as the saying goes,
they're back!
Okay, so looking at the console, you can see here that the nav buttons are all well lit, but we're missing some buttons down here on the AC control unit. I didn't pay attention to this before, but I initially thought that there was one bulb per button, but there isn't. Here I'm superimposing those bulb locations over the front of the panel, and you can see that there's not one bulb per button. I'll provide a link to my old video in the description which shows how to get this unit out of the console. What I'm trying to do here is get access to this AC unit while it's still in the car, because what I need to do is measure the voltages for the bulbs, and more importantly the polarity of those voltages, because unlike an incandescent bulb, an LED bulb, which is what I'm going to use, actually cares about polarity. In other words, if you put an LED bulb in backwards, it won't light up, whereas an incandescent bulb will light up regardless of which way it's connected. Here are the results of those measurements. You can see that the three bulbs at the center top are different, as they get only about 7.6 volts, while all the other bulbs, which are for the buttons, receive about 10.5 volts. Also, only the bulb in the upper right has its positive connection on the right side. All the other bulbs have their positive voltage on the left side. So here I have the unit on the bench, and I'm just going to take out one of the incandescent bulbs. The bulb mounts have a little slot on the back, so a slotted screwdriver goes in well, and it just takes about an 1/8 turn to the left. Once the bulb is out, you can see how the leads for the bulb extend through the bottom of the base and then wrap around so that they can make contact. This is detailed better in the original video I made. And now that the bulb is out, I can just show you a close-up of the hole that the bulb mount goes through. You can see the two contacts, sort of top right and bottom left here. Here's an example of unwinding the leads from one of the old incandescent bulbs in preparation for sliding in the new LED bulb. After unwrapping those leads, now it's time to just pull the bulb out. And now it's time to get out the new 12-volt LED bulbs. You may be aware that LED bulbs are not usually 12 volts. They're typically around 3. It's possible that they just string 4 LEDs in series to make up 12 volts for these bulbs, but regardless, they're specialized automotive LEDs. I'll leave a link to the Amazon page. One more thing to note, there is a difference between the leads of the new LED bulbs and the old incandescents. The LED leads are considerably thicker, so they do go through that base, but they're a little harder to wrap around, and I'll show that in a minute. So here I put that new LED bulb through the base, and it fits. It's a tight fit, but it works. And the LED stands a little proud of the base, so then I had to check to make sure that there was enough clearance inside the box, and it does fit. So here I'm bending those leads around inside the base, and as I mentioned, the leads are a little thicker, so they don't fit as neatly into the slots in the base. Eventually what I had to do was sort of manually manipulate those leads to get them into the right spot with tools, just to make sure everything would fit. Here's a close-up of the LED in the base, and these two areas here at the top and bottom, those are the contacts that will make the connection with the PCB. And they have to be pretty flush, otherwise it won't fit into the socket well. So that's why I squeeze them with the pliers here. I mentioned earlier that with LEDs you need to be careful of the polarity. So here I'm checking the voltage and making sure which side is positive and which side is negative. Then armed with that information, I can take a Sharpie and mark the negative lead here. So then I know when I put it back into the PCB, I can get that polarity correct. What I'm trying to do here is make sure that when the bulb, the base goes back into the PCB, that when I twist it with the screwdriver, that slot is vertical, right? That means it's fully seated. So it was just rinse and repeat for the other LEDs. I didn't do those 3 bulbs at the top. Those run odd voltage, so if those go out, I'll do that in the future. After doing the bulbs, it was just a matter of sort of reassembling, the reverse of the disassembly, and then getting it back into the console. And there's more details on that in my first video on this. Sorry about the kind of the hazy video here. I think the sun was just shining at the right angle and it was reflecting off the lens. So here's one last shot just to show that the bulbs did indeed light and showed up well in the dark. I hope this keeps your Honda Pilot moving.